when you have one-on-one conversations with people, you will actually realize, oh my God, this shit is real. This profession is so crazy. Why does social media make it look so easy? Okay, cool. So have you all, do you know who Christopher Nolan is? I'm guessing yes. And have you ever been in a situation where you go to the theater, you watch one of his movies, and then you're thinking about it during the intermission, the movie gets over, you're coming out of the theater, you're with your friends or family, and you're still thinking about it and trying to make sense of what is this movie about, what is the meaning, is there a part 2 or whatever. You go home, you sleep over it, maybe you dream about it. Next day you get up and I'm like, I want to know what that means, right? Like he must have had something. It's not just a random movie, some concept. And maybe you do some research about it. Because in the end, you want to form an opinion on it. Or else your mind will not let you be free, right? You have to feel something about it. So that's what all of you are going to feel by the end of today, after the session, because it's a lot of things that, like I said, people should talk about, but then they don't. And sometimes that's not good for the industry. Cool. But before I get into that, I usually start my sessions with a story of mine, some part of my story. I think a lot of you know how I started my career and things like that. There are interviews and I've written, I think in my guide also I've written something about it, but I'll talk about how it all started. I'll be moving here for the slides. Okay, cool. So this is, oh, by the way, when I was making the session, so my principle is more images and less text. That's what I recommend everybody to do in their case studies. So I follow the same principle over here. All the images that you see are generated from Midjourney. And I actually wanted to spend time learning Midjourney, but I felt like I don't have any strong intent because if I want a good result, I probably have to put in the time and effort, and I didn't have any reason. So I thought, okay, let me generate all images through Midjourney because I'm trying to depict a concept, explain something very specific. So yeah, so cool. Okay, moving back. So this was, obviously this is not me or any of us. These are fake people. This was back in probably 7th and 8th standard. So my friends and I, we were in our friend's house. We were watching a couple of YouTube videos on the laptop. And we were watching these entertainment and funny videos, basically the reels and YouTube shorts of today. And we decided that, maybe we should make our own short video. And so we got ourselves a camera. We got this Nikon point-and-shoot camera, no iPhones that day. I mean, no iPhones back then and all those things. And we had no idea about filmmaking or video editing or design. We were just a bunch of nerds, like complete nerds. And so we sat down for 15 minutes, wrote some script, and we shot like a small video about it. And I'll this side probably. And this was just like one of the screenshots from the video. I actually went back and tried to find it. You can see it's like 480p, beautiful resolution. And basically we made a movie called, we made a short video called How to Be a Superhero. And we posted it on our Facebook groups. All the three of us, we were in different Facebook groups, different schools. So we had like our own Facebook groups and people actually liked it. Not because it was great or had beautiful editing, it was just because it was fun at that time. Nobody was making these, entertainment things, right? So we decided that we would start making more and more of this. And we enjoyed doing it. So we would get in different friends and we would get more actors and stuff like that and try to make a better video every single time we made one. So we even got sort of upgraded our camera and we got like a better camera and started shooting things. One day we were, I think this was when I was in 10th probably, we got really bored of making these lame ones. So we thought, let's actually make a proper short film. Let's make it nice and interesting and let's have a good storyline, right? So obviously as guys, as we're kids, we like, Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z and Power Rangers and all that stuff. So we made a movie called Powerless Rangers. Okay, and this time this was probably like a 15-minute movie that we made, and this I mean we tried to contact Netflix to put it, but Netflix probably didn't exist at that time, I guess. So this time what we did was we decided that we would bring in a concept of visual effects and animation and stuff. And this is when I started to learn animation and just getting my hands dirty with After Effects and things like that. And so we made this one, and I think people really enjoyed it because it was something unique that nobody was doing at that time. And I personally enjoyed it. Me and my friends, we did it. I think we were like 5, 6 actors, and that's me, if you didn't know. But yeah. So fast forward, I moved to 11th or first PUC, as we Bangaloreans call it. So I think at that time, all of us had gotten busy because I had just entered college, and everybody else was in like 9th and 10th. They were ready with board exams and preparing for stuff like that. And we decided that, hey, you know what? Let's make a big movie, right? Let's make a really good one. We've done this visual effects stuff. Let's push it to like the ultimate test, and let's go all in. The thing was, we didn't know what we were going to do or how we were going to do it. We didn't know what was the storyline. We didn't know who was going to do the editing. And we didn't have like, MacBooks and big render engines back then, right? So we had to work with what we had. And so we somehow spent 6 months making this whole big movie. And it was insane amount of editing, a lot of figuring out to do. The number of times Premiere Pro and After Effects has crashed is I can't even count them. So, and all of us, we were doing this while we were in school. While we were in college, I was in college, everybody else was in school, and we had like weekends to do. We would do sleepovers and sit down and edit these movies. It was a very interesting period in time. So after 6 months, when we made the movie, we all got together and we were doing this final premiere of it. Right? We were ready to launch it the next day to all our Facebook groups, and we were watching it, and after watching it, we realized, man, we've put so much effort to make this movie. Half of the movie is filled with visual effects, right? But I somehow feel like people are expecting more. And we had sort of kept giving little sneak peeks to our friends in college and school and telling them, hey, this is like a Marvel type movie. There's going to be action effects. And we would show them a couple of clips and we would keep up the hype. And so we decided that, you know what, let's delay the launch of the movie. Let's make a trailer out of it, okay? Let's make it like a 2-minute trailer, get everybody excited, and then we'll launch the movie 2 weeks later. So we had to sit down and figure out, okay, how do you make a trailer now? We had one guy in our team. He was very good at English. Today this is 11 years ago, right? So today he's an RJ in Canada. So that's how good he was in English at that time. So he gave us a script. And then we sat down, me and my friend, we sat down. We figured, okay, this is the scene we'll put. This is the text that it should match. And I was sort of like the creative director. We made a trailer. We launched it on our Facebook groups. And next day I go to college. And this is how I'm walking into college, okay? People have gone nuts. And the thing is, all of us, we actually enjoyed making that trailer because it was like a very big achievement for us. And I think going through the entire process of learning something that we never did and accomplishing something, I learned this. So basically, one of the skills that I learned at a very young age is to learn the skill of learning. And I think this is something that as product designers, when we're starting, this is something we have to pick up. A lot of people pick this up as they grow up in life. Sometimes parents teach them. Sometimes life makes them learn this. And basically, if I were to put it in like layman terms and keep it simple, it's basically figure out how to figure things out, right? And I think the biggest problem that we have today in the industry is that people are not doing this. And it's not their fault. It's just that what you see on social media and what you read and when you talk to people, they don't tell you this. They tell you, only this part, how to figure things out. But what ideally you should be doing is this part where you're figuring out how to figure things out. And the reason I'm saying this is because when we were making those movies as kids, we had no big tutorials. We had to find torrents and we had to get pirated software. We had to do so many things and there was nobody to help us and guide us. So most of our time went in figuring things out because the actual part of making, let's say, an animation or trailer was easy. But the process of figuring out, okay, how do I make this trailer? What are we supposed to do? That was the challenging part, right? And I think this is a life skill that everybody should learn, not just in design, but in life as well, because it's going to help you with a lot of things, right? Now, I'm not going to play the 20-minute movie, but do people want to see the trailer that we made? Yeah, okay. Let's see if it works. Oh my God, thanks. So, yeah, that was 2012, so 11 years ago. And I think I literally have goosebumps because every time I watch it, it just reminds me of how much effort we put to make it. And that was a time where we didn't have tripod and gimbal and green screen and MacBooks. We literally had one camera and then a basic Dell laptop, right? And I think this is one of the things that I always tell people, that everything is possible if you just put your mind into it and use the resources that you have. And I feel like I should have gotten the Oscar for RRR instead of them, but yeah, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so fast forward to 2019, I joined an academy. I worked there for a year and a half, was part of the initial design team. Designed a lot of products for them. We built our initial design system that you all see today. So I have seen the version which looks uglier. I worked there for a year and a half, and then I moved to this company. Anybody know this company? Familiar? No? So I worked at Apple for 2 years. I know a lot of people might have questions of how it happened and all of those things. I will try to answer some of them because I can't talk a lot about it. I went to this company. It's called Trade Republic. I moved to Germany 10 months ago. I stayed at Apple for 2 years. So in short, what does Trade Republic do? By the way, I'm not here to promote my company or anything. We're basically like Grow or Kite or Small Case, where you can invest in cryptocurrencies and stocks and all of that. And what do I do here? I do a lot of things. I work on the growth team, which basically handles onboarding, incentives, and referrals. And we give an onboarding perk to people who start off. And of course, the first-time user experience. So my job basically involves from when the marketing asks a user to download the app, and until this person becomes an active user, I handle all of that. And I'm also handling a lot of their internal tools and the web design system as well. So right now, it's pretty crazy. We're a team of 3 designers, and I'm handling 7 PMs, 6 projects. Yeah, that's a lot of work. Now, I know a lot of you might say, hey, what is there in onboarding, bro? Phone number, OTP, you get in, some KYC you do and all of that. But let me tell you, this is how the Figma file of the flow for onboarding looks like. It's massive, right? And obviously, Europe is a different domain altogether when you compare it to India. So we have a lot of legal restrictions. We've got a lot of things to do. We've got edge cases and a lot of these things. We are trying to optimize it and make it as better as we can. But just getting a sign off on these designs itself is taken months and months. And we are going through a very big redesign. Maybe if we have time, I can show you a couple of screenshots later. And we're trying to take design to the very next level. I am very excited to see, because I think it's not a traditional redesign that you would see. We have tried to be very unique. And then finally, I think everybody's familiar with this logo. Yeah, so no introduction. Anybody knows what this logo is? Not? Everybody knows what this logo is? Okay, good. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. This guy, why is he on the screen? Who is he? God of mischief, a guy who fools people, a guy who tries to cheat people. And the reason I put him over here is because today we're in this industry where all of our decisions, everything that we see, all our opinions and bias comes from social media, right? And the reason I put him is because I'm trying to say social media is a lie. Everything you see on social media is a lie, because I don't talk a lot about things on social media. I just make pure design content. But I hear a lot of stories. People reach out to me. I meet a lot of people and I hear stories from their side. And it is so shocking to see what you see on social media is the exact opposite of what actually happens in the industry. And that's what this whole talk is all about today. In fact, it's a big fat lie. It's not just a lie, it's a very big fat lie. And I will prove that to you today. And the reason this is a concern is because the industry is actually dying. So it's been, what, 15 days, 20 days since I came back. I'm here on vacations, I'll be going back again. And I met a lot of people, I met a lot of senior designers, met a lot of people that you may know as well. And we all ended up discussing about the same thing, saying that the industry is going through a very tough time, not just because of the economic crisis and layoffs and all of that. The quality of design in India is actually falling very drastically. And sometimes I think about this a lot. I think about, why is this happening? Is this supposed to happen? Is this how it's going to work? Is there going to be an uprise for the design industry? And it just brings out a lot of questions. And this is what I'm saying. We don't talk about this on social media because it's not happy news. Social media is going to tell you a lot of happy news, nice things, makes things look very beautiful. And in fact, a lot of people fall prey to it when they enter the industry. And then I have seen, it hurts me to say this, but I've seen so many careers just shattered into pieces because of what social media told them, right? And that's the whole point of this talk today, is to enlighten people so that, I wish I could do this to 1,000 people, but obviously we can't. But it's sort of your responsibility to pass on the message every time you talk to designers or every time you get into a conversation with someone. And, so this was like the title slide. Does everybody know who this is? Yeah. Does anybody know the movie? Fall Guy? How many of you have not seen the movie? You have not seen the movie. Please watch the movie once you go home, okay? It has nothing to do with design. So basically, he is an NPC in the movie. So the movie is basically about a game, and he's a character, and basically NPC is, or maybe I should go on to the next slide, which is don't be an NPC, an NPC is a non-playable character or a non-person character, and basically they have code written into them, and they're just supposed to perform a certain set of actions. And Ryan Reynolds is one of them, and he somehow breaks away, and he then explores, he tries to go on his own. I don't remember how it happened in the movie, but he breaks off on his own, and then he discovers this whole new part, and that's how the movie evolves, right? So he's an NPC in the beginning, and then suddenly he changes, suddenly something snaps, and then he becomes this totally different person altogether with his own consciousness, right? And that's the whole concept to this. So I'd gone to Zurich in March. I'd attended this design conference. I think I put photos on my Instagram. I was a volunteer there, and I attended this session by this guy called Daniel Burka. How many of you know who he is? Okay, there are a few people. So in quick terms, for people who don't know, he is sort of a consultant. He's a product manager. He's not a designer. And what he does is he works with designers, and he tries to solve interesting problems that people usually don't prefer solving, or where, the problems he solves, you need a lot of passion for it, right? He worked on this app with a couple of Indian designers, and he built this product called as Simple. The name of the product is called Simple. It's basically an app. It's an app for healthcare workers in rural parts of India and in Bangladesh to treat patients with high blood pressure. Simple problem statement. an app for healthcare workers to treat patients with high blood pressure. That's just one use case. But it's a really big problem that exists and nobody sort of knows about it, or maybe they do, but the government doesn't want to do about it. So he came across and he decided that he would solve this, and he did this project probably in like 2016, I guess, and they won a lot of awards for it, and the designers he worked with are Indian designers, and it became a big thing. And definitely go research about it and search about it, you'll know a lot. And he had come and given that talk. Now, I have watched that talk many times. I've seen it in person as well. And the interesting thing is that every time he does the talk, he keeps adding new things, right? So it's always not the same talk. He keeps adding things and he makes it more interesting. And at the end of the talk, this guy, he opened the room for questions, and one guy raised his hand and he said, "Hey, Daniel, fantastic talk. I have a question. So I'm a consultant, professor at this design school. And my question is, how do you get all these junior designers, right, to work on problems like this? Where do they find problems like this, and how can they solve and, take up these problems?" And the answer Daniel gave is pretty much the base for the entire talk I have today. And he said, look, there's a big problem in the industry today, okay? We have a lot of junior designers. And junior designers means people who come from boot camps, online courses, even self-taught designers, and even people who have like 2 to 3 years of experience. They're still considered junior. There is so many people who have this interest, passion, energy, but they have no skill only whatsoever. They have like no skills. And you have this other group who are senior designers. And when I say senior, I'm not talking in terms of years of experience. I'm talking about their skill set, right? They might have 4 years, they might have 6 years, they might have 10 years, but the skill set. These senior designers have all the skills, but they don't have the passion to solve these problems. They've worked hard in their career, they want to work at FANG companies, they want to have big ESOPs. Because to solve problems like this, right, these interesting problems that can actually impact and save the world, it needs to come from within. It's an internal motivation, and there's no money, right? The government is probably going to give you some money, the NGO that you work with is going to give you some money, and you might want to do it on the side and get some side income, but do you really want to give in that time and energy to it, right? You've worked so hard in your life, you've built a successful career, and maybe you want to chill, right? Of course, there are exceptions. I'm not saying that everybody's like this. And big disclaimer, everything that I say today, there are exceptions. So don't take everything, at face value. And so now my question to all of you is, let's do a quick poll. If we were to solve this problem, okay, and we can't solve it today, it's going to take some time. Which path is easier? Is it easier to make junior designers more skillful, or is it easier to make senior designers more passionate? So how many of you, show of hands, feel that it's easier to make junior designers more skillful? Thank God, thank God. So what basically Daniel was trying to say is that if we have to get more junior designers to pick up these problems, we need more senior designers leading projects, right? These senior designers are going to find people, they're going to get people, they're going to mentor these people, and that's how the whole industry is going to grow, right? And that's why I'm saying that there's this big gap, basically what Daniel said, and the industry is actually falling. It's not becoming better ever since I became a designer. And I don't know how many of you people would agree or disagree with it, but if you speak one-on-one with a lot of senior designers, I'm pretty sure most of them will agree with me, right? When I became a designer, like 4.5 years ago, and obviously my mentors, my seniors, all of them, when we became designers, we were entering into a world and an industry that looked like this, okay? Beautiful, green, sunny, nice. You can hear the birds chirping. I mean, just at least imagine or whatever. But today, all of you and the people who are getting into the industry, you're entering into a world that looks like this. It is a shit show out there. You have no idea. And social media is going to tell you, no, everything is fine, don't worry, right? And that's the problem. But it's not just because of the economic crisis and the layoffs, right? It is so competitive, the demand is too high, and of course, I will go through it. But the reason the world is sort of like this, and I would sort of picture the design industry to be like this, is because technology is really growing at a super fast rate, and we all know how fast it's growing. But the speed at which designers are learning design is so slow. It's super slow. And because of the speed at which technology is growing, our ability to solve problems is growing. We are able to solve a lot more complex problems. And because you can now solve complex problems, the benchmark is increasing. And across all professions, if you're a designer, if you're a product person, or you're an engineer, we have the technology, we have the mindset, we have like smart people to do it, but we need actually talented people to execute this, right? And designers are one of these people. Now, I'm not saying to solve every problem you need designers, but we are needed to solve a lot of the problems. Let's say healthcare. Healthcare needs a massive overall revamp completely. Banking apps need a big revamp, right? The banking and infrastructure, right? And obviously we need designers for that, right? To solve any problem, you need 3 sets of skills. And this could be you as a product designer, or it could be a company that wants to solve this problem, right? So writing down this prompt was quite interesting. Anyway, so you need design skills. You as a product designer need design skills, and of course, the company needs to have really good designers. You need tech skills, ability to get really good engineers to solve this, and I think the engineering market is sort of saturated, so this is not really a problem for companies. But as a designer, you need to understand the tech side of things. You need to understand, you don't have to know how to code. I still don't know how to code. I sort of understand some CSS and HTML and stuff, but I don't need to know all of that to do my job, right? I need to know how to communicate with engineers. And finally, you need product skills, right? You need really good problem solvers. You need product managers to do it. And you as a product designer also have to contribute to this. So if you as an individual want to make a good profession for yourself, you need to have all these 3 skills, right? One of the biggest misconceptions is that we do not belong to the world of design. Well, maybe we do a little bit. We're product designers, so the word design is there, so maybe we do belong to the world of design. Maybe partially, right? But we actually belong, to the world of product. I think this is something that everybody has to realize. And the moment you realize the difference between world of design and world of product, your entire mentality and mindset will change. The way you look at things will change. You'll start looking beyond screens and colors and font size and all that stuff, right? We basically think beyond interfaces. And it's a little hard to explain what this means, and you can sort of understand what this means when you get into the industry and you're doing the work and you see how challenging it is. That, for us, pixels and screens is not it, right? That's not what we are sort of known for. Of course, that is our USP because there's nobody else who might do screens. What was this? Yeah. But we are thinkers as well, right? What we basically do is we think more and we execute less. Now, of course, when we get started in our careers, we do execute a lot, and that basically means screens and screens and screens. Even I do screens. I've been a designer for a long time, and I will continue to do screens. I like to do it. But for me, designing screens is the easiest job. Thinking what to put on the screen, thinking how to solve the problem, how does this impact the product as a whole? How does this impact the company? Does this make sense? Asking all of these questions, that is where most of my time goes, right? And I always tell people to complete stage 1 within 3 to 4 years, right? So what does stage 1 mean? Let me explain. You see, within 3 to 4 years, and let's say we make it 5 years, you need to have sorted your product design skills. That is your hardcore technical skills. Now what that means is, let's say you join a new company, it's a very new industry, you're solving a very different problem. Even though you have never solved that problem in your life, you need to know how to figure out and craft a design process to solve it. This is what senior designers are known for. It's obviously not possible for all of us to solve every single problem, right? For example, at Unacademy, I was designing a dashboard which required a very different set of skills. In Trade Republic, I'm handling onboarding with like a bunch of 50 screens, and designing screens is easy for me, but figuring out how do I make this set of 50 screens how do I make it super concrete, easy to use? Like I have to look at data. There are a lot of things to consider, right? And let's say you go to a flight booking app and you have a totally different set of problems to solve there, right? Maybe you do more research, maybe you do less research, maybe you have data, maybe you don't have data. With everything, you need to know how to craft that design process to solve it, right? And this ability to do it, you should have figured that out within 3 to 4 years. Because what happens is, if you don't do it within 3 to 4 years, or maybe let's push it to 5 years, worst case scenario, it's going to be very hard for you to pick up these skills later on. And the reason is because now you have been a designer for 4 years, and now you want a better pay. You want to get in a good product company. But the industry expects much more than you, much more from you. But you don't have those skills. So how are you going to learn those skills? Because for you to learn those skills, you actually have to put yourself in that zone, figure out the problems, struggle and fail, and make it happen. It's not something you can read from a book or watch a YouTube video, right? So you will then have to give yourself enough amount of time, and basically you're losing out on time, right? And that's why I'm saying it's so hard, so disheartening to see so many careers just shattered into pieces, and they're literally struggling and just trying to survive in the industry. They're not like, I don't give a shit about being lead designer. I just hope I don't get laid off. I'll stay in this company. I'll get this decent salary, right? You might think I'm bluffing, but that is actually the reality. That's what I hear from a lot of people. Or else I would have not even made this presentation, right? Because my biggest question is, how long will you sit and design interfaces? Do you want to be a designer, with 8 years experience and designing login screens and error states and checkout flows? Now, sure, maybe you will, but that should be something you can close your eyes and do. That shouldn't be where you're spending most of your time on. That should be probably 5% of where your time is going, right? Because as you grow in your career, you need to be a thinker. You need to make product decisions. You need to understand how to hire people. You need to understand how to make the company grow, how to build a good design culture, right? There is a lot of work to do. And for you to do those things, you need to have figured out your design skills, UI skills, UX skills, know what are the patterns, know how to make a good user flow. You need to give yourself 4 to 5 years, because then you can then focus on other things, right? Because you're going to probably be a designer for what? 30, 40 years, maybe before you retire, right? So if you're designing screens when you have 10 years of experience, something's not right, right? And I keep thinking about stuff like this all the time, at home. And I always think, today, we have a lot more resources. We have a lot more design influencers. We have boot camps, online courses, ebooks. We have so much. We didn't have shit when I started. Design Pilot didn't even exist before I became a designer, right? So why is the quality not improving? Why is it decreasing so bad, right? That's a question that I often ask myself. What is the reason for this? If the ability to become a product designer exists and it's so much easier to do it now, why don't we see any improvement? Why are people struggling to get jobs? Why are people not able to succeed in their career, right? And I'll obviously show you proof of this. Basically what happens is people enter the industry. Most of them don't really know what they're getting into, and they don't see what's there in the front. They're just going on as it is going on. They just be like, okay, fine, it's fine, so maybe I don't want to do anything too restless because maybe I'll lose my job, or maybe if I leave this company and try to apply for one, I might get rejected. So I don't know, right? So you're walking in this tunnel and you don't really know what you're getting into. And again, like the biggest reason is social media, right? You're just following what somebody just told you. You just saw something online. Everybody's sharing good news, so you think it's nice. So you're keeping that hope that because everything is nice on social media, maybe I should just also keep going and things are going to turn out fine. But nobody shares the actual failures, the pitfalls, the disadvantages. I mean, there are people who do still talk about it. We know Harish talks about it a lot. Harish from Cred talks about it a lot. But how much of an impact can you really make with a tweet or a LinkedIn post, right? When you have one-on-one conversations with people, you will actually realize, oh my God, this shit is real. This profession is so crazy. Why does social media make it look so easy, right? And for every one person you see on social media who is actually saying something valuable, who is actually giving value, who actually is credible enough to share that information, right? For every one person, you will see there are these many people who say all sorts of shit and nonsense online, right? And the person who is actually giving the valuable content, he loses all his importance, right? Because there are people who are going to argue with him, they're going to come in the comments, they're going to say this, they're going to say that. And you as a person trying to figure out a way, you are so confused. And most likely, if you have to choose and blindly tap on one of this, you will choose a person who is saying a lot of shit online, right? And he put out this tweet where he said, design is not just about pretty pixels, is a line that is most often said by folks who can't design pretty pixels, right? People who can't design pretty pixels, so he's basically saying that they're using it as an excuse just because they can't. But most of the folks that can design pretty pixels, on the other hand, tend to know that design is not just about pretty pixels. It's just that they don't go around preaching it. Like these people who are actually good at pretty pixels, who know that it's more than pixels, they are not sharing things on social media. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. All of these people will say, hey, you don't need to be a great UI designer, you don't need this, you don't need that. Yeah, fine, you need it, but it's not about this. But none of these people actually are credible enough to say that. You be a good designer first, and then you can tell people design is not just about pretty pixels, right? So this is just one example. I'm sure, I don't know how many of you are active on social media, but I see a lot of nonsense every single day, and it just irritates me, right? And sometimes I feel like maybe I should come and say something, but again, I'm going to get sort of washed out, and nobody's going to pay attention because sort of basically my point is, if I were to go back, they're diluting the quality, right? It's pretty obvious. If there are 15 people saying one thing and there's one person who's saying the opposite, obviously that person who's saying the opposite, no matter who he is, his value is going to get diluted. The quality that people expect from the industry is going to get diluted, right? If everybody says, hey, it's fine, you can start your career without good UI design skills, you can pick it up along the way. If 100 people say it, obviously people are going to believe that, yeah, maybe that's true because what 100 people are saying it, right? But the reality is obviously the different, They hide the reality, right? And no matter how much we go or we try to preach the truth, and people who are credible enough who go and try to preach it, they don't get the value, they're supposed to get. And this is very interesting, right? So I put out this poll on Instagram a couple of months ago, and I said, how many of you feel social media is making it mentally hard for you to progress, right? Reading success stories, FOMO, seeing people put out their work, industry news. So 40% said, social media affects my mind a lot. 41% said it bothers me a little bit. And 17% said it doesn't affect me, I have other problems. So 80% of people are blaming social media for not being able to progress. Now, should we blame someone? Who should we blame? Is there a point blaming? Well, I don't know what the answer to that is, right? So I asked a follow-up question. I said, where is social media in the list of your reasons? 50% are saying it's my top 3 reasons. This is ridiculous. If 50% of these people, or maybe, I'll go a slide back, right? Imagine if the situation was reversed. 17% said it affects my mind, and the rest says I have other problems. That is the state that we want to be in. That is when the design industry will be considered mature, when social media is not making things complex for us. Maybe we have other problems like personal problems, financial problems, time problems, health problems. That's fine. Those things may or may not be in our control, right? But social media is contributing so much, and it's making a big mess. And sometimes that's what I think. In our time, when I was becoming a designer, we didn't have a lot of this noise. We didn't have design influencers. We didn't have a lot of people making ebooks and making these Instagram posts and all that time. It was a lot simpler. We just had a very few designers that we could look up to. We would ask them questions. We would again go to meetups like this. I've been to so many meetups like this. I've been in the audience side. I've asked a bunch of questions. And it's a lot simpler. Today, it's a big fat mess. The world doesn't need UI UX designers anymore. Conditions apply. So what does this mean? Now, before everybody gets angry and be like, hey, I'm a designer, you can't say that about me, right? Look, it says UI, UX, designer. User interface, user experience, designer. That's all you do, which is very much limited to your screens. Now, it doesn't matter what you're called in your company. You may be called interaction designer, UX designer, it doesn't matter. But if what you're doing is the work of a UI UX designer, the industry doesn't need you anymore. We needed them 4 years back, 5 years back, 10 years back. Today we don't. Why? Because technology is growing at a fast rate. The ability to solve problems is growing. And we need, the benchmark is increasing, right? So if the benchmark is increasing, of course, we don't need people who sit and execute. We need people to do a lot more things and solve problems, right? What we need are product designers, right? And again, you might be called a product designer in your company, but if you're doing UI UX work, you should sort of try to get yourself out of that situation. And I think that's really important to do that. Because the industry has come to the stage where we're like, We need smart people. We can't handle pixel perfect people. And obviously already people are scared about, Galileo taking over your job and Midjourney and this and that, right? So it's so hard for an AI to take over a product designer's job because it keeps evolving. And it's not as easy because we deal directly with humans. We directly deal with business. For an AI to understand what are your business goals and figure out a design to solve it, it's going to take a lot of time, which means you have to feed data. You have to feed AI your company data. And I'm just giving you an example, right? But it's so hard for an AI to take over a product designer's job because there's a lot of things to do with the mind, right? And not just any product designer, right? We need industry standard product designers, right? Now, I'm sure all of you are wondering what is industry standard, right? Let me give you a very simple example to understand this better. When I was a designer, I think I had probably one case study on Medium. I had most of my work on Behance and Dribbble. And in fact, I actually started my career with a smaller company before Unacademy. I worked at this travel company for like 4 months. And it was a failed startup. I didn't know about it. I just wanted some job to get started with my career. And they gave me, I think, like 50,000 per month or something like that. And in 3 months, I realized this company is a lot of shit. There's nothing happening. I need to get off this company. So I spent the next 1 month sort of putting together my portfolio, making it better. And that's when I got into Unacademy. And when I got this first job, at this travel company, they looked at my Behance portfolio and gave me a job, which is very surprising, right? But today, if you go to an interviewer with a Behance portfolio and Dribbble profile, very high chances you're going to get rejected on the spot. Like, I didn't know I had to write case studies, but I wrote case studies because somebody told me and I felt like nobody's doing it, so maybe I should do it. And I was very good with English and writing stuff, so I was like, okay, maybe let's do it. Maybe it's going to increase my chances of getting a job. And today, everybody puts out case studies. Case studies and case studies and case studies, and it's filled with case studies. I get so many notifications. People send me their Medium articles and ask me to review it, right? Today, you need that. So basically, the industry standard is growing. It's increasing. It's changing. And you need to match that if you have to go through with the career. It's very hard to say, oh, I've made it in my career now. I have nothing to worry about. No, I can't say that. I have to keep worrying. I have to keep figuring out, okay, what is that I'm lacking? What are my career goals? What do I want to achieve? And what is the industry going to need in 4 years down the line? Right? Because let's say 4 years down the line, I may want to work as a lead product designer. What is the industry going to expect from a lead designer 4 years down the line? And technology is not going to stop. Technology is going to keep increasing. It's only going to become harder. When I started as a designer, UI design wasn't given much prominence. But today we're seeing so many apps with good design, and everybody is like, you need to have good design. You need to have good UI design skill, visual design skills. And it's only going to become more strict as you go forward, right? So that's why we need industry standard product designers, is because if you're not able to match up, you can't end up becoming a good senior. You can't mentor people. You can't take care of yourself first. How are you going to take care of others, right? And I think that is what is really scary about this. Because if you look at the industry, right, I sort of always think about him when I look at the industry, is that the industry has no mercy, right? Look, I'm going to keep changing the industry standard. If you want to learn, you learn, or else I will snap my fingers, that's all. Okay, you figure out what you want to do, right? And this is the scariest part, right? It's fine that we can create more industry standard product designers, but if social media gets fixed, if we get a lot more talented people and credible people talking about things on social media, it won't be a problem, right? Social media is not the problem. It's the people who are coming and saying things on social media that's the problem, right? And this was very fun to print out, to write this prompt and the next one. Everybody enters the profession like this, with your design degrees and certifications. And how many of you have done Google's UX certification course? Don't worry, I'm not going to attack you. Right? Okay, cool. So there are people over here, so I'm going to be less brutal. So they come with their certifications. They come with all sorts of things. And they enter the industry like, hey, I can now be a product designer, bro. I have case study. I have 2 case studies. I have this and that. And this is the reality. Check this out. As brutal as it may be, this is the reality, right? You are still wearing your cape. You still have everything. But what sort of job are you doing, right? And that's what I said, right? If you're not able to match the industry, this is what you'll end up doing. And maybe in the future, a robot is going to come and replace Superman as well, right? we already have, robot vacuum machines, right? Because this profession is not hard. That's not a typo. I'm saying this profession is not hard. It's insanely, ridiculously, crazy hard, okay? That's how hard it is. Not just for you, even for me as well. It's very hard. Getting your first job is not hard. And if you believe getting your first job is hard, you have no idea what's in store for you, right? It's so easy to get a job, but what is hard is building a successful career is hard, right? I'll get into this a little bit more later. Surviving in this profession is really hard. I really wish you could have seen the font. It was a nice font. Anyway, because a lot of times what happens is you end up in the situation where you're all alone, you're stuck, you don't know what to do. Maybe I should not paid money for that course, or maybe I should have spent time doing this or that. Whatever it is, you will end up in the situation. And this is not going to happen in 2 to 3 years. This will happen when you're 5 years later, 6 years later, when you realize you're not seeing any growth whatsoever, right? And I'll tell you, this is the reality, right? No community is going to come and save you. No community is going to say, hey, don't worry, bro, you're a part of my community, I'm going to fix all your problems. That's not going to happen, right? Your friends are going to say, hey, I'll give you a referral, man, I'll refer you to my company, this and that. Not going to happen, right? Maybe they will refer. Your network, how many ever people you go try to reach out to on LinkedIn, I'm not able to progress, my company's not listening to me, I don't know what to do, right? The only thing that will save you is your skill set. And I have been through so many downfalls in my career, and although I don't say about it on social media, for me it's a very big downfall, but every time I came out of it, it was only because I had the skills to come out of it. Sounds like I'm bragging, but definitely I'm not, because I've seen a lot of my mentors, a lot of my seniors, I have seen the downfalls they've had. And the common pattern that I see between all of them is that the only thing that saved them, that helped them get out of the situation, was the skills they had. Sure, maybe a referral would have helped. Maybe you saw somebody shared a job opportunity to you. Maybe that did help, right? But you ended up getting out of the situation only because you had that skill set, right? And I'm going to move on to this next point, and I think this is a very important point. And like I said, social media is going to tell you the opposite. When I was at Apple, not when I was at Unacademy, I was a designer with probably just 6 months of experience. I hadn't even completed a year. And a lot of people believe that I applied to Apple. It's actually not. Apple was the one who reached out to me, right? And the guy who hired me in the end, he gave me a call, and we got on a call for 2 hours, and he was just getting to know me, right? And he told me in the call itself that, look, I'm not offering you a job. There's no position itself open. I just want to get to know you. You seem like a smart guy. You've been doing this YouTube and dark mode and all of this. So I just want to keep in touch with you, right? And we spoke for a lot, and he asked, what are your career goals and what you want? And remember, I was one of you, like you people, 6 months of experience, just fresh into the design industry. And I told him everything, and I was actually very excited. And at the end of the call, he said, yeah, man, keep in touch. I would just advise you to start focusing on the Apple ecosystem, learn about the human interface guidelines, this and that and everything. But again, I'm not promising you a job, okay? Like, just keep that in mind. And I was in the park, outside my house, and I was talking to him on the phone. And I came back home, and I sat down on my bed, and I was just trying to digest the whole 2-hour conversation. What am I supposed to do with this conversation, right? Some dude from Apple reached out. What am I supposed to do with this now? Should I act upon it? I don't know what to do with it, right? And I told myself that, Chetan, maybe you should give it a shot. But you know what? There is a 1% chance you'll get into Apple. Come on, bro, you're a 6-month-old designer. How you'll work at FANG company? Come on, bro, be realistic and all of that. And there was this other part that said, I think you should go for that 1%, give in your 200% and try to achieve that, get to that 1%. Even if Apple doesn't work out, you'll still be in a much better situation. Maybe you can leave Unacademy and join probably like Ola or Swiggy or a better company with a better salary, right? It's still a win-win situation. So I sat down and I started analyzing, how the hell is a 6-month-old designer supposed to convince Apple that he's worthy of joining them? And this is what I had to figure out, right? This is what I'm saying. Learn the skill of learning. Figure out how to figure things out, right? Now, reading the human interface guidelines and doing all that execution work, all of that is easy, right? But how do you convince a FANG company that you're so good, right? And honestly, I still don't know why they hired me towards the very end. And I started learning a lot about the guidelines. I discovered WWDC, which is their annual conference. I went back in time, watched all the videos from 2014. I started mentoring people. I started colleges started inviting me to give talks. So, and I kept keeping this person from Apple updated with everything that happened. And after 1 year, he reached out and he said, "Hey man, I think I've shared all the things with my boss, and I think he's interested in getting you into the company. So looks like it's going to happen." They want interns because they want you to do some job. Unless it's a big company like Duolingo or Uber or Microsoft. Like these are mature companies, right? They are hiring you with an intent of converting you full-time. The rest of the companies, they will hire you as an intern just to get work done from you, right? And that's not what you want to be in. And I don't know how many of you are from boot camps and stuff like that, and don't attack me for saying this, but and I've heard this from people who have gone to boot camps, and I've heard this directly from them. They said, "Chetan, they actually promised us placements, they promised us this, and they promised us that. I'm not even getting an interview for an internship. What do I do now?" And I'm like, it's maybe too late. I don't know how to solve this problem. You'll have to start from scratch, right? I know you listen to them, you put your hopes on them, but that is not the reality. No company is going to take you and be like, come, I'll teach you design, come. Nobody's going to do that. And Apple didn't do that. I had to prove to Apple first that, look, I'm a good designer, right? It's fine you want to train me, but I will go from 0 to 80% myself. You take me from 80 to 100%. That is what you need to do if you want to make a career out of this industry, right? And that's just not just for junior designers. Even when you're moving from mid-level to senior to lead to manager, and manager to VP and all of that, you have to showcase that you can go from 0 to 80% on your own, and then let the company put that bet on you, and then they will take you from 80 to 100%, right? And I think this is a very important slide, right? They will only teach you what you cannot learn on your own, right? Like, digest this. This is so important. When I was getting into Apple, I tried to figure out and learn so many things. I even made this Apple Watch app concept project. I don't know if you people have seen it. I have a case study on it as well. Because I was designing apps at an academy, and I wanted to show Apple that, look, I can do more than just mobile apps. So I didn't even have an iPhone back then. I didn't have an Apple Watch back then. So I would go to my colleague who had an Apple Watch. I would take the watch from him. I would play around with it. I would take screenshots, and I would do all these things. And then I had to figure out, okay, how does this Apple Watch work? Because I don't have one, right? I don't know how it interacts or daily usage, how it works, right? So these are the things that I could learn on my own. So I did learn it, and then I told Apple, look, bro, I learned it. Now, do you think I'm good, right? You need to showcase your potential. Now, again, everybody's question is, what is potential? How can you measure potential? Now, a lot of people have asked me this question. Chetan, how can I showcase my potential? And it's very tricky to answer this question, but I came up with a very simple answer. But I want to ask all of you, right? What is potential according to you? Anybody can raise their hands. How can you say this is potential, right? Any answers? Yes, please. Interesting choice of words, okay? Jugaad, okay? So you mean whether I do it right or wrong?
Yeah, like giving it a try, we'll learn something.
Okay. Any other answers? Yes? How do you measure positive impact? How can you tell yourself that, hey, Swiggy, I have potential. Hey, Unacademy, I have potential. How can you show that? How do you show that? I'm sure all of you have the zeal to learn, but how do you show it to the company? Sorry? You mean number of years of work experience? So you'll give them a number of how many times you've tried?
Not exactly.
Okay. Any other answers?
The ability to come out of an unexpected situation thrown at you.
What if you've never been in an unexpected situation? Cool. I'll give you the answer. Okay. Of all the things you can learn on your own, how much did you learn on your own? Let's read it again. Of all the things you can learn on your own, how much did you learn on your own? Right? And this is easily visible when people look at your projects, case studies, when they do whiteboarding sessions, when they see you presenting your work, right? Because people who are recruiting you and good designers, they know what anybody can learn on their own, right? Today, everybody knows that you can learn Figma all on your own. You don't even need any YouTube channels other than Figma's YouTube channel. You don't even have to watch my tutorials. The whole industry knows that you can learn Figma all on your own and be a good UI designer. But is that shown in your work, right? The industry knows what you can learn on your own. It knows what you can't learn on your own. It knows that you can't learn how to handle data, how to solve complex business problems, how to build a very complex design system, right? The industry knows that, right? So if you can show them of all the things you can learn on your own, how much did you learn on your own, that is basically showing your potential, right? Now, we'll talk about success. Cool. They want me to do a Q&A, so maybe we'll pause for a while.
So my question is, say we have been in the design industry and we've worked at a company, but I've had a bad experience.
Okay.
Now my confidence is shattered.
Okay.
How do I get back and follow this? Because I discovered this path based on my the experiments that I did. I learned web design on my own.
Okay.
I did freelancing, and then I discovered UX, and then got a cracked interview into a top design agency, and then had a bad experience.
In the top design agency?
In the top design agency. So
okay.
Now my confidence is shattered that maybe I took a wrong decision.
Decision of what?
So when I learned web design and I fell in love with it, I thought maybe I should learn UI UX to upskill myself.
Okay.
Because web design, I felt anyone can learn.
Correct.
It became very easy. I was like, I need to upskill. So I had a choice of whether it should be UI UX because I had a design background and I learned web design and all that, or should it be web development so that it's a complementary skill. So now that I choose this path, when I had this bad experience, I look back to this point, should I have taken a different path? Or now that my confidence is shattered, should I continue in this path or should I go back to learning web development to complement my web design skill?
If you go back to what you did, you will regret that decision even more. Okay? This is where you want to be. It's fine if you have had a bad experience. I'm sure a lot of people have. I know a lot of people personally who have, and I have tried to help them get out of it as much as possible, but you have to keep going. And there is one big section where I talk about what should you do if you're in a very similar situation. It may not be the answer all of you may want, but that is the only answer available, right? And so I will talk about that, but it's fine, don't go back. That's basically what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So being a junior product designer, so company are expecting like they said. So recently I sit for an interview and they asked me design skills.
Okay.
So what exactly design thinking basically, design thinking they were saying. So what exactly it is design thinking, like for a junior product designer, because we're not like a product manager applying for product manager.
Right.
What exactly it is? It differs company to company, or like a basic thing is that?
So are they asking for you to explain what design thinking is, or are they asking you to showcase your design thinking skills?
Showcase design thinking, what you have done in the previous company, and what you think about that, what exactly it is design thinking. So they asked me this question.
Tricky question to answer. The way I can put it is, if you made certain decisions that were other than colors and font sizes and typography, if you made any decisions, what decisions did you make, right? Were you told what to do, or did you make certain decisions when you were designing the flow or the app or the experience, right? What decisions did you make? Why did you make those decisions? And what was your logic for making that decision? And this has nothing to do with auto layout or fonts or colors, right? This is thinking beyond the screen. What did you think that was beyond a screen? That's all they're looking for, right? And it's there in every single project. It's just a matter of did you do it or not, and how much did you do, right? That's what they're looking for. It's very hard to explain this. I will have to open my Figma file and show you and give you an example, but I don't have my laptop, my office laptop with me. But what decisions did you take as a designer, right? Now the thing is, you and your PM could have taken that decision together, or whoever you worked with, let's say for example, right? But was it a decision that came from you, right? Did you discuss this and maybe they disagreed or maybe they agreed and then you collaborated together like this is a good idea. Let's do it this way, right? Did you find a nice problem and figure out what's the best way to solve it, right? Because figuring out what to solve has nothing to do with screens, right? It's a little bit of psychology and thinking and data and all of this comes together. What decisions did you take? Just think about that. Yeah.
Hi, Chetan.
Yes.
I'm Siddharth. My question is regarding design assignment.
Okay.
Whenever design assignment comes, right, so I face a problem, right? Suppose it's a 2-day or 3-day tenure that I have to complete it. So I do make good case studies. I have a good process of understanding. But while going through, suppose the primary research or secondary research, whatever, and compile it, there are a number of tools available in the process, right? From affinity mapping to do a
Okay.
number of things, right? So how smartly you can conclude a design assignment, and also this is first part. I mean, how smartly you can conclude a design assignment by such that a good way of your how well I think, what is the potential I have that should showcase over there. And the B part is what of the impression goes there if we take more time, like we ask, like this is suppose we make some excuse that something happened, I will submit on Monday, I was supposed to submit on Friday, then these two.
Okay, I'll answer the second one first. Okay, maybe just to repeat the question that he asked. What was it again? The first.
Achha, second part, right? Okay, I'll tell you. The first part is how well I can conclude my design
Yeah,
assignment.
how well can you conclude the design? Basically, you're asking how much should I show in my assignment, right? Number one. And number two, what if you submit it late, right? My personal opinion is that if you did a good job and you submitted late, I don't think it matters, right? They're not testing how fast you submit, because whatever you design in that company, even if you get in, you will not finish in those 3 days, dude. That's not going to happen at all. Even for a single flow, you will spend 2 weeks, 10 rounds of iterations and concepts and discussions will happen. That happens in every single company, right? So I don't think you should worry about time as long as you're confident that you did a pretty good job, right? No, that's one. Number two is you will learn what to put and what not to put only through failures. It's a trial and error. You have to see it. And maybe not because, it's a trial and error because you have to judge yourself. You have to build that intuition and figure out what are they asking me? What are they testing? So if they are testing this, should I show them this? Should I actually do this, right? And that's that intuition that you have to build as a designer. And a lot of times you will build that only when you fail, right? And it's not a bad thing. You have to fail. That's when you will realize what went wrong, right? And I will give you an example. So when I was interviewing for companies in Germany, most of them had whiteboarding sessions. And I made mistakes in whiteboarding sessions most of the times, but I knew what I should not have said or what I should not have done, right? And that comes only through failure. And even in portfolio presentations, when I was presenting my work, they kept asking me a lot of questions. And I said a lot of things and I realized that, okay, this is going to trigger unnecessary questions. Maybe I should remove this. Maybe this is not relevant to me, right? And every interview I had, I would keep tweaking my portfolio, remove slides, add this. So then I knew, okay, fine. At the end, pretty much I know what people are going to expect from me, right? And it takes failures to build that design intuition. So that's all I can say. Yeah.
Hi. So you talked about how social media is a lie and
Yeah.
how the industry is putting up content which is not so relevant. So do you think that especially like junior designers who are entering, they are just putting up content as a checklist that it will give me upper hand in the interview because I want
Nice.
to show this. So like you put something out of your understanding and your experience in that thing, and therefore you want to share it because you have deep understanding of it. But people are just putting it up because just they want to, it's just a checklist, that sort of thing. So I think that is why we are having so many just wrong sort of content out there.
Right. So was there a question or?
I'm just asking, like, this is why this is happening. Do you think that this is why it is happening because it's just become a checklist?
Oh, that's because there are a lot of people who preach that.
Yeah.
They say that it increases your chances of opportunities. Bro, this is not lucky draw. This is not lucky draw. It doesn't increase your chances of opportunities. Good work will increase chances of opportunities. Even if you have 15 dribble shots that look like shit, it's not going to impact anything, right? And I personally have this policy. Maybe I'm a little stingy, but I think 100 times before I put out anything. Even every YouTube video I make, I think I edit the video myself. I watch it 2-3 times to make sure that I'm saying the right things. Sometimes when I say something, when recording, I feel like maybe I should change the way. So I re-record the entire thing. I am very careful about what I put out because I don't want anybody to feel, hey, this guy's losing his touch. Maybe he's gotten bored. Maybe something's wrong. I don't want anybody to believe that because that is going to make other people take over me, right? So putting out no quality is better than putting out bad quality, right? Because if you put out bad quality content, people know that maybe you're not a great designer. But if you haven't put out anything, people will be like, maybe this guy's a good designer, we haven't seen any work, let's give him a chance, right? So it's like that. So it's definitely not a lottery system, but there are people who say, put it out and, tweet every day, you're going to get followers, put LinkedIn posts and all of that. I never say that to anybody. I say, you want opportunities, you want chances, put out great work and good work. If you don't like it, don't put it out. It's as simple as that. And I will show you another example of it in a different context, but yeah. What is success? Okay, and let's talk about this. I'm opening the room for this, right? We have a pilot. When can you say that this pilot is a successful pilot, right? Show of hands, anybody can answer. You can look at this pilot and say, man, that's a successful pilot. Yeah. Sorry? When he lands. That's not success, that's a requirement. But fine, yeah. Number of badges, okay. Medals, okay, cool. Anybody else? Yeah? Number of hours of flying, nice, okay.
How do we react when things go wrong?
Okay, nice.
Number of hours without an accident.
Number of hours without an accident, cool, right? No, I don't know what the answer is, okay, because I'm not a pilot, right? But they have a criteria to define this is a successful pilot. We just don't know what the answer is, right? What about a chef? Edible? Come on, man, that's a basic requirement. That's not success. I can also make edible food. I am not a chef. Yeah.
Don't burn it.
You have to raise hands, please. I can't.
Don't burn it.
They don't burn it. Okay. Michelin star. Okay.
When somebody eats chef's food,
They should feel happy. Okay. They come back for it. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Start their own restaurant. Okay. The coffeer.
Like the more arrogant.
The chef. Ah, nice. Okay. Gordon Ramsay. Okay, cool. Right? So, all of you have given different answers, right? But the way I like to look at success, not just about product design, but everything in general, is successful people have access to the opportunities they want. Okay? If you don't want to work in a Michelin star restaurant and you want to have a very successful cafe where you get a lot of people every day, that is still success. You don't have to be a crazy dessert maker or prepare the best authentic Indian food or whatever, right? Your goals are very different. If you can access those opportunities, right, then you're successful, right? And I want to talk about this a little bit more in detail, right? So let's talk about us, product designers, okay? How do you call somebody a successful product designer, right? Again, show of hands. Product designers, all of you only.
When users can use the app easily.
Okay. Or maybe let me put it this way. You want to become a designer like this person because they are successful. There are a lot of people who can build good apps, but are all of them successful? Maybe in your definition, sure. But does anybody have any other definition?
Ability to solve the problem.
Okay.
ability to solve any given problem. Like
Okay.
they are new to that problem.
Okay.
They have an ability to solve it.
Okay. You're all about your assignments. Okay. Okay.
They have opportunities coming to them to switch or to work at certain problems which they want to solve, not they are forced to solve.
Nice. Okay.
Impact and opportunities.
Impact and opportunities. Okay. Nice. So you can go behind money. Okay. That is also success for a lot of people. I know a lot of designers who are very rich, very, very, very rich. They make a lot of money. And there are many ways to make money, right? And going behind money is not a bad thing, by the way, right? It's just that in your life, you need money because maybe you didn't have money, or maybe your situation requires that you need to have a lot of money. Whatever it is, right? There's nothing wrong with going behind money. And the second option is to go behind opportunities, or maybe the type of work that you want to do, the impact you want to make, right? I belong to this category, right? That's how I like to think of myself, right? Now, the interesting thing here is that you have to choose which one you want. But it can change in the future. Maybe in 4 or 5 years, I'll feel like, dude, I want to make a lot of money. I don't want to work on this. I just want to chill with my family. I want to make a lot of money, right? Maybe I'll switch my behavior. That's totally fine, right? But every career decision you make, every person you listen to, everybody you take advice from, every opinion you make has to be based on what you want, right? And I will tell you a very nice story. So when I was still at Unacademy, there was this person who reached out to me, and she said, hey, Chetan, can you mentor me, please? I really want to be mentored by you. I want to get into this profession and all of those things, right? And then I asked her, so why do you want to get into product design? She said, look, I'm in this other job, it's not great. And I do like product design. I've done some research about it. I want to get into it and all those things. And so I just want to have a decent career and all of that. So for me, I consider that to be a red flag, because you're doing product design because it's plan B, not because it's plan A, right? So I don't know how many of you know, but I did CA, and I moved to product design, made that my plan A by leaving CA behind. So I gave my final exams. I didn't clear. I studied for it. I went through to the very end, but I didn't clear my exams. But that's fine. I finished that phase of my life and then made product design plan A, right? And so I told her in a very nice way that, look, dude, I don't have time and all of those things. But she kept coming back to me again and again and again. And somehow I felt like, okay, maybe Chetan, you should just give her a chance, hear her out. So then I asked her, okay, fine, tell me your story. How much time can you dedicate? What's your plan? Etc., etc., everything. I want to know everything about you before I decide I want to give you my time. And she said, look, Chetan, I'm actually a mom. I have a 3-year-old daughter. And I live with my husband. We don't have any financial problems. My husband earns decent money. We live in a rented house and all of that is fine. It's just that I'm not happy with my career and I want to do something meaningful. Look, I don't want to make a lot of money. I don't want to work in big fancy companies. I just want to be happy with what I do, be fairly compensated for it. And that felt like a very genuine answer, right? But I can't make my decision based on that. So I said, okay, fine, I'll give you an assignment. All you have to do is take this Airbnb screen and replicate it dot to dot. That's your assignment. Let's see how you do it. And I gave her a couple of tutorials that I had made. And these were tutorials that I had made long back, not even the tutorials that exist today that I've put out in the past few months, right? And she took her time and she came back to me, which I was not expecting. And I was surprised to see 95% accuracy in the way she had used auto layout, the component. She had followed my tutorial so well, and I felt like, man, I see potential, right? And so then, 3 months later, in 3 months, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll mentor you. And then we worked on 2 projects, and then she started interviewing, and she got a call with the design agency. It's not a top design agency, but it's a pretty decent one. And she got rejected in the final round. And she came to me and she said, Chetan, I got rejected. And I was like, fine, we'll keep looking. A week later, she replied back and she said, Chetan, that company that rejected me, they want me again. They want to interview me again. I'm like, okay, fine. Why do they want to interview again? Did they not reject you? She said, of all the people they had interviewed, she had the best case study. She had the best visuals. And they want to interview me again. So I told her, okay, this is your second chance. Think about all the mistakes you did. Learn about it, fix it, and do the assignment that they're going to give you again. They gave her a different assignment the second time. She cracked it, and she got into the company. Right? This was way back in 2019, I guess, or early 2020. And she reaches out to me every 6 months, and she has a 5-minute conversation with me. It's so weird. And she just checks in like, hey, Chetan, how are you doing? Right? And I just asked her, she reached out to me a couple of months back, and she asked me, Chetan, hey, how are you doing and all that? I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm good. I'm in Germany and all of that. And I asked her, so why do you keep reaching out, just like in intervals, like 6 months time? And she said this, you helped me in the most difficult time of my career, so I would like to always stay in touch with my mentor. Now, for me, this makes me so happy, right? But it also saddens me because I don't want to be this only guy who is getting messages like this. I want the whole industry to be getting messages like this, which means I want more senior designers impacting people's life like this, changing people's life. Now, she got what she wanted. She had access to the opportunity she wanted, and she got it. That is success. I'm sure I'm making more money than her. I'm sure I have more opportunities than her, but she got what she wanted, right? And that is success. And she made all her decisions based on what she wanted. And that's why I asked her, what do you want at the very end? Because if I know what you want, I can tell you how to make decisions, what to learn, where to apply, right? I told her there is a good chance that you will not get into a product company because you're not aiming high. She's like, yeah, that's fine. A design agency is okay for me, right? I don't know how long I'll work, right? I have a daughter to take care of. Maybe when she grows up, I'll have to spend time with her, right? But for now, a design agency, decent, maybe 8 lakh, 9 lakh salary is fine for me, right? That is success. And I always tell this story to a lot of people because it proves that if you want what you want, you have a clear mind, you listen to people who know how to give advice, and you just follow that, you'll get what you want, right? So this is like a prime example, right? Now, again, a question to all of you, right? This should be interesting. Let's say you start your career as a designer, and you've been a designer for 5 years, or maybe you have not been a designer for 5 years, but in 5 years timeline, you will achieve many things. Maybe you'll get a bonus, maybe you'll get promotion, internship to full-time. It could be anything, right? And of course, everybody wants everything. But according to the industry, what do you think is the first achievement that is actually worth celebrating? Because I'll tell you what, today, people celebrate the smallest of the smallest achievements on social media like they got married or some big party they're doing. I'm like, dude, anybody can do what you did. Okay? Don't live off that fake validation, right? Fine. You wanted to say you got this, fine, that's good. But it's fine to celebrate it with your family, maybe treat your friends, maybe gift your mentor something who helped you, right? But what is it that is actually worth celebrating where the industry will come and say, good job, bro, well done. What do you think that is?
Clear vision that what exactly I want to do.
Having a clear vision of what exactly you want to do, okay?
When you help others to achieve their goals.
That is their success. Yeah, okay, fine, okay, got it. As a mentor, yeah, but what about your personal thing? Because you are a full-time employee, you have a job, right? That everybody will do. That I will do 1,000 times in 5 years.
Making business into profitable.
That is not your job. No, design is one of the factors, marketing and all that all comes. Anyway, and this is my opinion, right? You don't have to agree to it. If you feel like agreeing, more than welcome, right? It's when you get a job in a company that truly cares about design. The thing is, everything that I'm saying is sort of connected with each other in its own weird way, right? And everything is depending on each other. If we have companies that care about design, they will hire good designers. And if they're not able to hire good designers who are looking for a job will not get jobs. And they will realize, oh, I actually have to learn good design to get into this company because this company truly cares about design. It's all interconnected, right? And that's why we can't blame it on this. Of course, I can blame it on social media, but there are other things that we really can't blame it on, right? This is when you should actually go out and celebrate and said, okay, fine, now I've done something great, because getting this is very hard. Like I said, getting your first job is not hard. You can get an internship, you can get into a design agency, you can get into a service-based company, but getting into a company that truly cares about design is very hard, right? And that is what you have to sort of focus on. The thing is, this is how we are. The industry is at this stage, right? Just 2 leaves. We're just getting started. There is a lot of work that the design industry has to do. And when I say design industry, it is all of you, the future generations of designers who are going to come. You then have to mentor designers who are coming into the industry. It's your responsibility. I have done my share of learning design and giving back as much as I can. I'm sure a lot of other senior designers have. They might not be content creators and they might not create content on social media, but they are nurturing the designers they are getting into. They are slowly helping companies understand the value of design, build their design culture, hire designers. They are doing their bit as well. But we just don't have enough people who are capable enough of doing this, right? And to be like, and if I were to put it, I'm saying that we're running out of designers, right? Even though we have so much supply, we are running out. Majority of the companies, they don't understand the design industry. I'm going to go through these slides really quickly because it's like super simple and straightforward. They don't know how to hire. And I'll give you a very nice example, right? I have done hiring as a consultant for a lot of other companies. I have hired in my company. I have seen how hiring happens at Unacademy. And I know what's happening in Apple as well because I've been there. One of the most interesting things that we do at Trade Republic is when a new HR joins our company as a talent acquisition person, we make them attend our design reviews, at least 4 to 5 design reviews, so that they understand what is it that designers in Trade Republic actually do, what skills do they have, what is the expectation of leadership, and can I find that in people who I'm interviewing? So we tell them and teach the HR so well how to look at a resume, how to look at a portfolio, how to judge someone. Because only after the HR's vet, they come to us, and that's when we take the first portfolio round, right? Not a lot of companies do this because they don't have enough good talent to actually go ahead and run or hire people properly. Even the way there were so many slides, I just removed it because I didn't want it to be too long. People give you all sorts of ridiculous assignments which make no sense. They test the wrong set of skills. And it is so saddening to see, is this what you want? You want a guy to just design pixels, and is that all you want, right? And maybe that company does want it at that time, but I'm sure that you don't have to get this person who just designed pixels. You can get a decent person to design pixels and do other things. Your company will need it in the future. So just hire this person, right? But again, there's lack of content. There's lack of quality. People don't understand, right? They again think design is a transaction. They don't look at design as an asset. They look at it as a transaction, right? Again, I've seen this in thousands of companies. They have a anything will do attitude. They have the best excuses in the world. They will say this, they will say that, no money, we don't need design lead, we don't need design system, it's fine, this is MVP, all sorts of reasons, right? And as a designer, that is the worst environment for you to be in because you're not able to showcase your potential. You're not able to get good work, right? And a lot of people actually question me, why did you leave Apple, dude? Dude, you left everybody's dream job. How did you leave? Because I told myself, I'm going to stay in Apple for minimum 1 year. If I don't see growth after that, I am going to leave Apple. I don't have an emotional attachment to a company. They have paid me. I'm grateful to that. I will stay in touch with them, but I have to take care of my career, right? And that's when I felt that maybe it's time to explore opportunities outside because what am I going to do in India, right? I feel like it would have been a little easier for me in India, and I wanted to explore something. Only because I had Apple in my resume, I felt like I could grab and get access to that opportunity. I could not have gotten that opportunity when I was still at Unacademy, but because I went to Apple, and obviously, it's not that I got the job because I was at Apple. Obviously, they did interview rounds. I got rejected in many companies. A normal interview process happened, right? So yeah, again, design looks different from the final output. Very common problem. And I have a friend, she works at this company, and she tells me, Chetan, every time I design something and ship it, the engineer will do something totally different. He'll put his own interaction and he'll ship it. And if I go complain to the PM or the founder, he'll say, it's okay, no, this is nice, no, let it be. He does it all the time. And I've told her, you have to push yourself and force the company and make sure that the design doesn't go live until you QA it, or leave the company, dude. That's all you can do, right? You can only try so much, right? Because they don't understand business. They are so involved in like convincing investors and having good NPS score and all these nonsense metrics, right? And they don't realize that if they had given more value to design, they could have achieved even more, right? They are happy with what they have. It's just that they can't see that design can actually help you achieve a lot more. There's this, how do I say this? There's opportunity that is being missed, and that's why design obviously ends up looking different. And obviously they don't listen to designers, they don't have skilled designers. I'm just going to run through all this. And now the biggest question, what if you can't get into a good product company? What will you do now? Chetan, I want the answer. Give it to me, right? But before I give you the answer, I want to show you something, okay? And pay attention here. I will read this out. I got a long Instagram message. Hi Chetan, I need your suggestion. As I have mentioned earlier, I want to showcase my personal project in my portfolio. So what should I pick? My main target is that I want to join a good product company. What do you suggest? What should I work on so that the recruiter will give me a call for an interview? Also, I have 1.5 years of experience and is not showing real work be a negative point. So I asked her, don't you have work that you can show in your company? I do, but honestly, it's not worth showing. What will you do now? 1.5 years of experience, you have nothing to show for, and now you want a good problem statement, you want to get into a good product company, you want more salary, but how will you do it? And it's not what problem statement that is going to get you the job. Irrespective of what problem statement you pick or what you solve, in the end, you have to do it right. That's the point. Right? You can take a big problem statement, a small problem statement, whatever you take it, it has to be right. So now, this person can still get out of the situation, but she has to put 10 times the more effort she has ever put in her life. Because she can't leave her company, which means now you don't have a choice but to make a kick-ass project, learn every skill, put in late nights, put in weekends, because in the end, you want a good product company and you're not showing work you've already done, you're basically a fresher with 0 years of experience. And now it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. She's probably a youngster, she's probably what, 22, 23, 24 years. But do you have that mental mindset and that intention and that strength to do it? Do you have that mental energy to do it? Maybe she does. If you're in the same situation after 5 years, do you think you have the mental energy? Because the industry is going to expect way too much for you. You either have to start fresh, maybe start as a PD2 or a PD1, probably work in a small company, start your career all over. Do you think you can do that? Of course you can. But how many of them have the mental energy to do it? This is exactly what is happening in the industry today, right? And I can give you so many examples, I can pinpoint companies, I can do so many things, but obviously I'm not going to do that, right? And one big complaint that I get is this whole chicken and egg problem. To get into a good company, you need design skills. But to get design skills, you need to work in a good company. How is this possible, dude? How will you do it? I don't know. Hey, this is not possible. It's cheating, right? We also had this problem. It's not a new problem. Even I was becoming a designer, we had this problem, right? So if I was able to solve it, so can you. But the thing is, people don't know how to solve it. So the first thing is, and this is answering your question where you have been a designer for a while, what do you do now, right? Find the gaps in your skill set. What is it that you don't know? That's number one. Number two, what won't your company offer? Sometimes as a product designer, I mean, not sometimes, you always have to have good UI design skills. But the problem is some companies, they don't care about UI and they'll just be like, let's just ship something decent. Let's use some UI kit. Let's do this. Let's copy Cred. Let's copy Swiggy, this and that, blah, 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 right? So you're not the company is not offering you the ability to learn good UI design, right? So find out what that is, right? Start planning your exit. The earlier you start planning your exit, the better it is. I started planning that I would leave Apple just when I'd completed 1 year, even though I knew that I would finish 2 years and go. I started planning very well in advance, right? And it took me 3 months to get my visa and all of that. So probably I started applying to companies when I had finished 1.5 years. So that I wanted to stay 6 months in Apple, do the interviews, get my work permit, and then move out, right? I started planning that, right? Give a flexible timeline of maximum 2 years, right? You need to be out of that company from the day you decide that you need to get out. Give yourself 2 years of timeline. The better it is, the faster you do it, the better it is. Now, the reason I'm saying 2 years is because if you give yourself 2 months, you are putting so much pressure on yourself that you have to get out in 2 months. But if you give yourself enough of time, let's say that person who sent me that message, she made the decision that she wants to leave the company after 1.5 years. But if she had made the decision maybe 8 months later or 6 months later, she would have had a generous amount of time, that mindset, no pressure to take things. So by the end of 1.5 years, you have a good project that you can show, and you did pretty well because you have no mental pressure. That mindset, that is so important because like I said, we're not executioners. For us, it's not just about doing things. We have to think, we have to learn. There's a lot of work to do, right? So if you fix your mind, everything will become a lot easier, right? And obviously, finally, you get to work. Now, the second option is this, okay? you fight for it. You fight for it so much that you get what you want. Now, the problem this doesn't work is because the company doesn't trust you. They don't believe that what you're suggesting is going to add value because you don't have credibility. You're a junior designer, dude. You have 2 years of experience. Why should I listen to you, right? That's what's going on. So now, if you want to win, you have to learn, you have to prove, and then maybe the company will listen to you. Maybe. If they do, that's good. If not, then no. I have a friend who works at an immature product company, and he realized that we need a design system because it's becoming so hard for me to design, the other designers to design. And he went and told the founder, look, dude, we need to make a design system. Let's get in like a senior designer. Let's do something. They said, no, we don't need design system and all. It's working out fine and everything. But this guy knows that the design system is going to help and we need a decent one. Textiles are not even defined. There are 1,000 shades of grays. So what do you do, right? So he sat down, spent extra hours, figured out how to build a really good design system, learned all the ins and out, and then he spoke to the engineers, and he did it all on the side. The company had no idea he was doing this. And then he went to the company, he told them, I need 1 hour of your time. He explained everything. They implemented the design system, right? This is the hard route. I mean, actually, both of them is the hard route. It's just that both of them will require work, right? Do you want to stay in that company and give them a chance and prove to them? Or are you ready to put in the extra time and effort to get out of that company? Right? Because you have to take care of yourself. Like I said, it's all connected. If designers start leaving the company and companies realize that, oh shit, if we don't listen to them, they'll leave, right? Then companies will start valuing design. But because people are not leaving the companies and they're staying there, and I heard this from someone, people said that they're so scared to leave the company because showing 6 months of work experience in a company is bad. I'm like, okay, that's a very valid assumption, but the design industry does not care about your 6 months. If you're a good designer, they will take you in no matter what, right? And so people are staying in this company because they want to show 1 year in the working experience, or they're scared that 6 months or 4 months leaving the company so soon. When I was working at that startup, I didn't give a shit. I said, I don't want to work in this company. I will leave this company. 3 months, I started preparing. 1 month, I sat down to prepare. 4th month, I was out of the company, right? And I don't really care what they think. And Unacademy didn't care that I stayed in this company for 4 months. It didn't. They said, okay, fine, your work is good, I'll take you in, right? Because this whole thing is like a game of chess, right? And I can closely relate to this because everybody starts at the same level. The moves you make in the early stages of the game can predict what moves you can make in the later stage. You can't just, now if you lose a certain pawn, or you make a certain mistake, or you play a certain way, you can't do any move you want. It will totally determine the moves you make in the future, right? And you can make only a few mistakes in the beginning. You can't make mistakes in the end. It's fine, you make some strategic mistakes, you take some risks, you lose some pawns, maybe you got outsmarted in the beginning, right? That's all you can afford. Because the more you do it, checkmate, right? So always think of it in this way. That's why I tell yourself, give yourself 3 to 4 years to sort it out. 5 years to sort out that stage 1 where you've figured out this whole design skills. 5 years is a very long time, to be very honest. And a lot of the things you can really learn on your own. Even if the company is not, let's say, you want to become a good UI designer and the company is not giving you the opportunities, you can easily learn it on your own. You can redesign apps on the side, you can watch tutorials, you can practice, you can do a lot of things, right? But it's just that sometimes people don't know that you have to do it. And then you have the social media pressure, and then you have your personal pressure, parents' pressure, peer pressure, and then I'm like, God, I hate this, right? This is what usually happens. Writing this prompt was very nice. I was like a kid walking on large footsteps in snow, right? So it's so important to follow in the footsteps of people who have what you want or people you want to be like, right? And I see this thing that anybody who looks cool on social media or who says interesting things, I want to be like them. That's what people tell themselves, right? And they follow and sort of preach and make decisions and opinions based on that person. But dude, that guy has totally different things. His career is very different. You shouldn't be taking advice. You shouldn't be following that person's footsteps if you want to reach where you want. You have a totally different end goal. That guy has a totally different end goal. That guy might be a good UI designer. That guy might be a talented guy. But dude, he's a freelancer. You want to work at a FAANG company. It's totally two different career paths. You need to make sure you pick things very well, right? So make sure you follow in the footsteps correctly. And this is what even I have done, right? I am also tracking people who I want to end up like. And I keep observing, what are they doing? How are they making decisions? I go to the LinkedIn and see, okay, well, how is their career graph looking like? How many years did they work? And I see how does that fit in with my thing? Because you can't obviously follow exactly, right? But the thing is, you don't deviate much from the path that you're taking, right? And I think obviously, right, learn from people you want to be like. Learn from people who have what you want. Ask yourself, will this decision help me reach where they are? If you fix your mind, 90% of your problems will go away, right? And I think for us, it's very important because it's not like, it's not something that we can do with our eyes closed, or we can do, like when you brush your teeth, you don't think. You just brush and you don't even know you brushed your teeth, right? But product design or learning design isn't like that. Our job doesn't work that way. Face your fears of receiving feedback, because this is going to be a part of your entire career. You will get feedback for the rest of your career. That is what we do. That is our job, receiving feedback and taking it. And if you don't know, if you take it personal, if you feel bad about it, it's fine to feel bad about it. But tell yourself, okay, I will take this positively, right? This person is saying it to me in good faith, right? I'm a person who can take very harsh feedback. I've had a very rough childhood. My dad has been very strict. So for me, if somebody says your design is shit, I really don't give a damn. I'm like, okay, fine, can you tell me why my design is shit? Give me pointers, I'll go fix it, right? I am wired that way. And not everybody is wired that way, and that's okay. But you have to change your mindset. It's really important to do that. Make mistakes before it's too late. And as you can see, I've highlighted before it's too late, not making mistakes. You can't, like I said, in the chess game, you can't make mistakes in the later stage of the game. You have to make it in the early stages of the game. Learn from your mistakes before it's too late. Fail fast. Conditions apply, right? This is what people misunderstand the most. It's not failing that's important. It's failing after giving your 100%. And no offense to people who have gone to boot camps, but when you come out of a boot camp, you have maybe 1 or 2 assignments, and you get rejected left, right, and center from companies. You don't even get interviews. And you feel that's failing. But dude, you haven't even given your 10%. You have not given your 10%. Right? You should have put in so much more effort than what a design school is teaching you or what a boot camp is teaching you. And then you give your 100% and then you fail, that is considered failure. Right? So it's very important to, like even when I was applying to Apple, or when I was practicing, when I was learning things, I made sure that I'll give my 100%, and then if I don't get into Apple, I will consider that as a failure. Because if you don't even give your effort, you're going to get, that's irresponsibility. That's not even failure, right? So think about it this way. If you're failing, don't think of it as failure. Give it 100% and ask yourself, did I do my best when submitting this assignment? Did I do my best when submitting this for review, right? If you did, then consider that as a failure, right? And you have to fail. It's not that you give your 100% and you succeed. You have to fail, right? And again, talking about design schools and boot camps, they build an environment where they don't let you fail. Let you make mistakes. Of course, everybody does. But they'll be like, no. Don't worry. Nothing's going to happen, okay? All of that is going to be fine. And then when you get out of the design school or boot camp, shit gets real. Right? And then you realize, oh my God, what did I do that past 2 years or the 3 months or 6 months, right? I should have done a lot more. Because they'll tell you, it's all nice, it's cool, good feedback, and honest sessions and all of those things, right? It's like a casino, right? This whole making mistakes and failing. You just need to get it right once. And to get it right once, you have to do it 10 times. And I'm sure a lot of people ask this question in the Q&A. I sent my resume and applied to 50 companies when I was applying for jobs in Europe. Out of that, 25 didn't respond. 25 responded. 15 companies said, well, we don't want to hire you, we've closed the role or whatever some reason. They sent me a rejection, they didn't give me an interview. The rest 10 gave me an interview. So I had interviews with 10 companies when I was applying for all the jobs. I got rejected by 7. I got selected by 3. I chose 1. So when is that one time? That is left for you to decide. How fast you want to fail, how many times you want to fail, right? I've got like just last 2 points, right? This is somebody who's looking at diamonds. Now some of these can be fake diamonds, some of these can be real diamonds, but every diamond has to be looked at and validated. don't live off fake validation. I see so much on Twitter where you get so much love for sharing something nice. So many comments will pour in and pour in and pour in. But the reality is that when anything happens to you, let's say you get laid off, let's say you have a bad experience in the company, there's not a single person in that thread of comments who's going to come and save you. They're not going to give a damn about you, right? They will say very, very nice things and that's going to make you feel nice, right? I get a lot of nice comments on my YouTube channels and Instagram DMs. I don't live off that. Yes, it's nice, it makes my day, but I get validation from people who matter to me, right? Take validation from people who are 100 times better than you. Take validation from people who genuinely care about your growth. Take validation from people who give you really strong feedback. And when I was launching the learnproduct.design, I sent it to a lot of junior designers as well, who I know are very good at what they do, and they give really good feedback. I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm senior designer, I'm better than you, I'm going to get it reviewed by some big design leaders. I sent it to them because they give me really good feedback, right? Because if I send it to 100 people, 90% of them will say, wow, this landing page is great, this is going to help everyone. But that's not feedback, that's validation. I don't want that. I want people who give really good feedback, right? And this is a habit that I have cultivated ever since I joined Unacademy. And maybe I got lucky because they put me in that culture of getting feedback all the time, right? Have control over your mind, right? Do not dilute it. It's a very hard challenge, right? Mental health, I never used to believe in it, but now it's something that everybody has to focus on. And we need to have a very sane mind to do our jobs very well because, like I said, we have to think so much. It's not easy. Ideas don't come like this. Even I have the blank sheet syndrome where you open a new project and you're doing something, everything is blank. I face that as well. Every designer does, right? But if you have really good control over your mind and your goals are very clear, your focus is very clear, you'll be able to do a good job, right? And I feel most of the people are not able to succeed or get out of the situation only because of this. Not because they don't have potential. It's just that their mind is not letting them do it, right? And finally, right, this whole profession is like putting together this big jigsaw puzzle and putting all of this together, right? And you can't do this alone. I didn't do it alone. I had my mentors, I had my seniors, very grateful to them. And even today, for me to be speaking here, right, or maybe I should say this point later, right? Everybody is going to help you put these pieces of the puzzle together. You can't do it alone. And if I'm standing here today and giving a talk, I will still give credit to that mentor who trained me so much at Unacademy. We don't talk a lot. He's gone on with his life, I've gone with my life. We chat now and then. But I am so grateful, I give him all the credit for it, right? I'm like, bro, because of you, I am standing here and giving a talk. Because of you, you trained me so well, you gave me the opportunities, you made me find out my mistakes. And he was a really tough mentor, right? He never sugarcoated anything. And finally, right, if we have to, move from that dead tree to a stage like this, it is our responsibility to give back to the community. And how is that? First, you become a good designer yourself. You prove to the industry that you're worth of being a good designer. And then you share on that knowledge. You don't have to create content. I'm not saying everybody has to be a YouTuber. We don't want a situation like that. If you become a good designer yourself, companies will trust you. You can mentor. The future generation can help and improve. And this is a team effort. I can't do this alone. You can't do it alone. We all have to do it together. But if we only do it properly together with the right mindset, make sure that we don't fall prey to the things social media tells us, we'll be able to do a really good job. And somehow I always keep feeling that maybe we can bring up the design industry, we can sort of bring it back from the ashes. It is possible. It's just that not a lot of people are talking about all of this, right? So with that, ending the session. So thank you everybody for listening here.